Hi.
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Yes,
so
sir.
you can hear now.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so we have
Yes,
breast pump, which we hear a lot at obstetric unit, that's maternity unit. And then we have a term we call CODeL. This is the part of amnion which covers the baby's face when it is born with the amnion intact. Most babies, or all babies born when they are in utero, they have two membranes covering them. The one closer to the baby is called amnion, and the one far away from the baby is called chorion. Sometimes some babies are born with the membranes coming with them, and the part of the amnion that is covering the face of the baby, we call it a core. Call it core. Then we have cellulary. The meaning is tumor. Usually one containing fluid. That we have cystocele, a protrusion of bladder into the vagina. Remember, we are going through terms that are used commonly in the maternity block. There are certain terms which are not used by the doctors and nurses and midwives there. They have their own language, and that's what we are going through. We have an circumcision. When we say circumcision, is cutting or excision of part of panicle, periprus, or foreskin. When the male child is born, you see that the penis is covered. The penis is covered. And normally we cut, or they cut the periprus. Remember, for acting obstetrics, you can cut a male organ's foreskin, but it doesn't mean that when the male organ is covered with periprus, it will not deliver. It can be pulled back and the penis will be used. But we cut it. In obstetrics too, sometimes women have also been circumcised. They normally remove the clitoris of the baby, or baby girl. So circumcision is excision, any part of the body, but we are talking of the males because that is the common thing we do. When a woman enters menopause, we say she has entered climacteric period. Corpus means vagina. Another name for corpus is vagina. Sometimes at the end of the labor, a woman may have problem with the vagina, and it will, like sometimes when you cut through the vagina, it has to be sutured. And the period when vagina is cut through is when the baby's head is not able to come during labor. They do episiotomy. In other words, they cut through the vagina and they suture it. And when you do that, the term we use is called porosity. Another name for pregnancy is cyanosis. When a woman goes to antenatal and claims to be pregnant, and her urine is tested and there's no pregnancy, we refer it as pseudocyesis. Then another term we use in obstetric areas, dyad. A couple or two people, mother and father, mother and baby, that dyad. And labor is also referred to, difficult labor. It's also referred to dystocia. Let me explain this dystocia. When we say somebody has difficult labor, It doesn't mean that the person did not scream. There is no labor without pain. The person will scream, jump up and down in the labor ward. But what we meant by dystocia is that a woman is supposed to deliver. Any woman who has not delivered before is supposed to deliver 18 hours after labor. 18 hours. A woman who has not delivered before use 18 hours. According to obstetrics, if 18 hours the woman hasn't delivered, they give her another 6 hours, and that will be 24 hours. If after 24 hours she hasn't delivered, then we describe her labor as what? Dystocia, as difficult labor, and something has to be done. Women who are delivered before normally takes 12 to 15 hours to deliver. So that is dystocia. It's not when you enter the labor ward and a woman is jumping up and down in pain. That is not dystocia. That's not dystocia. Another name for umbilical cord. That's a cord. Umbilical cord. It's called faultness. And then remember we saw abdominal gestation. So when you take the gestation alone, we call it's a pregnancy. That's the term we use, pregnancy. Gravid means pregnant. Look at the difference between the two. Gestation is pregnancy. Gravid means pregnant. So when a woman is pregnant, we say her uterus is gravid one, gravid uterus, pregnant uterus. Because of this, we have this word we call gravidero. Gravidero, meaning pregnant woman. Gravid, dero, pregnant woman. We have hermaphroditism, which is hermaphrodite. We describe babies a condition in which genetic organs of both sexes are present, commonly of male type. In the female type, the clitoris is enlarged and resembles penis. So when you give birth to a child, we call that child, and he has two sexes, male part and female part. We call it what? Hermaphrodite. We call the person hermaphrodite. Commonly happening in cause of your profession and you are working in a maternity or with a pregnant woman in the area of surgery. People are brought with this problem, hermaphrodites. Anencephaly is fetus. Don't forget, whatever you have in the uterus is what we call fetus. As soon as the fetus is born, then it becomes a baby. So protrusion of the brain in the occipital region, occiput. We'll look at that later in the fetal score. Occiput, occipital region. We have sinciput, we have occiput. We'll look at all these things. The word inter is commonly used in us. We have when there's bleeding in a brain, that intracranial hemorrhage. Intracranial hemorrhage, meaning bleeding between the skull and the brain. And then we have intracranial hemorrhage, bleeding from within the skull, within, between, and then within. Sometimes there is another pregnancy that can occur in women's life, intraligamentous pregnancy. This occurs when the fallopian tube ruptures and the fetus continue to develop within the fold of the broad ligament. We call it intraligament pregnancy. We have this sign we call clot sign of pregnancy, clot. This is varicositis. When a woman comes to antenatal clinic, you ask the woman to lie on the table, they inspect the vulva. Then when you go into the vagina, you see the entrance before you enter the vagina, there are some blood vessels, clotted blood in the blood vessels. We call that one varicositis. And this sign you see in a pregnant woman, we call clot sign of pregnancy. Clot sign of pregnancy. MENAC is initial onset of menstruation. MENAC. The very first menstruation when the baby has come to the world. We call it MENAC. Why are we concerned with MENAC? When a woman menstruates, when a baby menstruates, what it means is that that baby girl is now capable of becoming pregnant. Remember, we said gravida is pregnant. So when you go to Ops unit and a multi-gravid woman, is a woman who has been pregnant more than once. Multi-gravida woman. It doesn't matter whether the pregnancy has spoiled or the pregnancy is, gave birth or not. We call it multi. Once you have become pregnant, even when you become pregnant, and then you abort, and then become pregnant again, you are multiparous woman. That is a multiparous, so a multi-gravid woman. Then a woman who has given birth to more than one child, will be a multiparous woman. A woman who has given birth more. So normally multi-gravid goes multiparous woman. And then we have another term we call nullipara. A woman who has not given birth to a viable child. He has not given birth. Nulliparous women have ever become pregnant before. But even though the person become pregnant, he doesn't have any child. Anytime he delivers, either he gets a C baby or she gets what we call abortion. So such a person, nullipara, no child. She may have ever been pregnant before, but bad miscarriage or termination of pregnancy. We have a term we call para. It's a meaning, a prefix meaning alongside of near. We have a term we call parametron. Parametron is found, connects surrounding the uterus. And then, as I said, every baby in the uterus has two membranes. The baby is covered with two membranes. The one closer, or what we call inner lining, is called amnion. And the one outer is called colon. So these membranes, which are covered, who have covered the baby, it's not just covering the baby, but it has fluid in it. And that fluid, amniotic fluid, is called. We'll look at it into details. Sometimes you get a woman who is seriously pregnant. Let me tell you, uterus is not an abdominal organ. Uterus is pelvic organ. When a woman becomes pregnant, something enters the uterus, and if that thing is growing like a baby, it moves from the pelvis to abdomen. And when you go to the abdomen, there's no space for uterus, so it has to push the organs. So to push the organs, and all these organs will push the diaphragm. And finally, what will happen is that it will squeeze the lungs. And therefore, the amount of oxygen the mother will be taking will be very low, and the mother gets tight easily. But after some period of time in the pregnancy, the baby has now reached a stage where it has to come out. So it goes down the uterus. And when that going down, which we call sinking or setting of the fetus into the lower pool of uterus, the woman becomes fluid. The water becomes light. So we call it lightening. Remember, it's not the lightening, rainbow lightening. Lightening is softening or sinking or setting of fetus in the lower pool of the uterus. Later on, we see what we mean by lower pool. A woman pregnant for the first time. You start as a young lady and finally becomes pregnant for the first time. We call that woman primigravida. And if you have not given birth, you become gravida 1, para 0. Gravida 1, para 0. If you have had a pregnancy before and have another pregnancy, you can gravida 2, para 1. Gravida 2, para 1. Remember, from what I've just said, gravida always go before para. And the gravida is higher than the para. Gravida is higher than the para. So anytime if somebody has come and you ask the person, how many children do you have with this pregnancy? I have 4 children. It means the woman will be gravida 5. You have 4 pregnancies already. But gravida 5, para 4. Gravida 5, para 4. And of course, para also means a woman giving birth to a child for the first time, whether alive or stillbirth. When a woman comes to antenatal clinic for the first time, the doctor or the midwife or the nurse will like to find, is the bottom which is coming or is the head which is coming? The term we use for that is presentation. What is the presentation of the baby in utero? Then you do the examination and determine that. That's the part of the fetus in the lower pole. Upper pole is where the fundus is. We look at that, the lower pole. Pre-viable baby is a baby giving birth before 28 weeks of gestation. In other words, below 28 weeks of gestation, the baby will not survive. Below 28 weeks of gestation, the baby will not survive. Then we have rectocell. Prolapse of the rectum into the vagina. When we look at the female reproductive system, you realize that rectum is just below the vagina. Rectum is just below the vagina. So sometimes, if the baby is not coming quickly, and it causes friction between the vaginal wall and rectal wall, the rectum will just enter the vagina, and we call that one rectocell. Sometimes, if the hole creates between the rectum and the vagina, we call it a fistula. Rectovagina fistula. Rectovagina, this is artificial opening between the rectum and vagina. Now we have these terms. We call spontaneous evolution, a process by which fetus may be expelled in case of shoulder presentation. It can only occur when it is preterm or macerated. Spontaneous, the fetus may be expelled. In case of shoulder, just come out, just like that, even though it's not ready to be born. The spontaneous expulsion is the same. It begins with a manner similar to evolution, but it is very, very rare. Then we have these two terms. I will teach you to listen this very well for me. Super fecundation. The meaning is that the fertilization of two ova. I hope you are listening. Fertilization of two ova. One intermenstrual period, a different act of coitus will result in dizygotic twins. What it means is that you decide to have you ovulate in the morning. You have sex with your wife or girlfriend or whatever in the morning. Then you fertilize the egg. Then the same day, you have another egg there. Your sperms will fertilize it. We call that superfecundation, and normally result what? Dizygotic twins. Two different sperms fertilizing two different eggs of the same woman. Then we have superfetation. This means fertilization of two ova during different intermenstrual period. What this means is that the woman menstruates today, then you have sex with her, she becomes fertilized. Then the following month, she menstruates again, and you had sex with her, and she becomes pregnant. We call that one superfetation. Term number 50, teratogen. Any drug that a pregnant woman will take, and it will destroy the baby. We call it teratogenic drug. Formerly, we have this drug called thalidomide, which was, people didn't know. Women were taking it, and they were getting their pregnancy spoiled. Trisomy. There is an additional chromosomes to the normal complement, making 47. A baby born who is supposed to have 46 chromosomes in the cells, rather has 47. In Down syndrome, the extra chromosome is normally 21. So that is trisomy. Vagitus uterus. Vagitus uterus is a term used for baby crying in the uterus. Baby crying in the uterus. We call it vagitus uterus. Then we have this we call epispadias. Either you have hypo or the hypo is epispadias or hyper. What it means is that it's a congenital malformation of urethra, upper area of and there's a hole. We are concerned when we see this, we tell the mothers, because when the baby is a male and he has this problem, some of the sperms in future will leak through that. and she will not be able to impregnate a woman. Domiciliary means home. When you go and deliver somebody in the house, we say you are doing domiciliary midwifery. When a woman is not ready to deliver and is not even pregnant, you do vaginal examination. You realize that you'll be hitting a part of uterus we call cervix. A woman who is not ready to deliver, when you hit the cervix and one finger enters, normally we say 2 centimeters. Then the next time you do another vaginal examination and 2 fingers enter, again you have 4 centimeters. At a point, hello? Who is disturbing, please?
Emelechuku, mute your mic.
So we have, the next time you do vaginal examination and you are not touching the cervix again, we say the cervix is gone. And the term we use is effacement of cervix. Sometimes some babies are born with jaundice when the red blood cells of the newborn or the presence of erythroblasts are not mature. Call it erythroblastosis. Then we have eutosia. That is normal. You know, we saw dystocia, which is abnormal labor. Eutosia is normal labor, meaning the woman has reached the number of hours that's supposed to wait before she delivers. Yeah, so we call that eutosia. Then we have supine, lying on your back. Most women deliver in a supine position. They lie on their back and deliver their babies. Then we have a word because station, relationship of presenting part to pelvis. Station. And then spider sign, a gross overlap of fetal skull. When the baby dies and is not able to cooperate with the woman or take part in labor, the fetal skull becomes flattened, and we call it Spalding sign. Involution is, remember I said the uterus is not abdominal organ. The uterus leads pelvis to abdomen. And it doesn't go there, and it goes there with the fallopian tube, with the ovaries, everything. So after delivery, this uterus and its accessories have to come back to the pelvis. And when it does that, we say involution has taken place. If it does that very late, we say sub-involution has taken place. Babies are born with secretions around them. So the greasy substance. If you hold a newly born baby and are not very careful, you slip because of this substance. We call the substance Venus caseosa, Venus caseosa. The area between the symphysis, what do we call the occiput and sicciput, that the fetus, the back or the front and the back of. There's an area there later on we'll see when we are learning fetal skull. And that we call it what? Vertex. The area between occiput and sicciput. Etipos and etiponi. The sicciput is the front part of our head. We call it vertex. Any pregnancy occurring outside or baby developing outside, we call it pregnancy outside the uterus, is ectopic. Call it ectopic gestation. Then in a neighborhood, there's a word they commonly use, and that's a SB. SB. Oh, we have got SB. It simply means stillbirth. Stillbirth. Remember, I said when cervix, you do a cervix examination and you don't touch the cervix. What it means is that the cervix is taken up. And when the cervix is taken up, it has to open, fully open for the baby to, it's a full dilatation. In a labor ward, you normally hear, wire full, it's full, it's full. That is the full dilatation. Then we have what we call galactoria, excessive flow of breast milk. Some mothers are born, they give birth to their children, and they can't even control the milk flow. But interestingly, some of these mothers will be having problem of milk flow, but will still feed the baby on lactose. Then we have genitalia, the organ of generation. Genitalia, that's the organ of generation. The last word here is meconium. Babies are born, immediately the baby is born, we bring out the materials in his rectum. That material look like the first feces from the baby. The very sterile. It's not contaminated, and that feces we call it meconium. Meconium. The greenish black in color and contains bile pigments, cells, because intestinal epithelial cells, and usually amnine. So that is the end of lecture on what we call terms used in obstetrics. Terms used in obstetrics. Any question or any addition or any contribution so that we move on.
Hello, sir.
Yes, master.
Please, can you take number 48 and 49? Can you please elaborate on it?
48, super fecundation. That is the word. One woman producing 2 eggs during one intermenstrual period. She had the menses this month. After the menses, she ovulates and gets pregnant with 2 ovaries being fertilized. She will deliver twins. But the twins, we call them dizygotic twins. The second one is a woman this month, she ovulates and gets pregnant after menstruation. Then the following, the normal thing is that once she gets fertilized, she shouldn't get fertilized again. But the following month, she gets fertilized again. And she menstruates. That is the wonders of God. And she gets 2 ovaries during this period fertilized. She will give birth to twins. So that is the difference. The first one menstruation, the second one 2 menstruations. All right. So yes, there's whose hands are up.
Sir Elizabeth.
Okay, Elizabeth, go on.
Yes,
Okay,
sir, please. I was also going to talk about the 48 and 49. By 52 too, I wanted some little explanation.
Okay.
I have never heard that. Elizabeth Sally Williams.
Okay, Lizzie, you have never heard what?
That a baby is crying in utero before.
Yes, that is why you are here with me. So that is the first thing. Vagina uterus. You see, you will not hear the baby crying. Okay. What will happen is that sometimes when women go to antenatal clinic and they are pregnant, the woman will ask the what we call the nurse or the midwife will ask, please, have we heard of your baby today? In account, they said, what can?
Yes,
Then
sir.
you say, oh, Martin and Ka. That is not a serious matter. But as soon as you say Martin and Ka, what normally happens is that the midwife even becomes happy that Martin and Kappa, but it doesn't work that way. If the woman will respond that you should let the woman go and lie down for examination. What it means is that the baby may be having a problem. Either the cord is tiring at the neck, and the baby becomes very vigorous, very, very vigorous. When you are anxious and you are in pain, you cry. So not that you see the baby crying, but he's crying, calling you that, or calling the midwife or a nurse that I'm not comfortable at all. Things are happening to me. That is what we call vagitus uterus. Vagitus
Okay,
uterus.
sir. I understand. I think I have even experienced it before.
Okay, that's
If that
fine.
is the case.
Okay,
But
that
I
is
eventually lost the baby.
exactly
I had a stillbirth.
that is it. That is
Yes.
why if we have at the back of our mind as midwives or nurses, taking care of the pregnant woman, every complaint of the pregnant that should be taken seriously. And every information we give you, you should examine the information. Now, that is fine. Even that you have to do fetal heart, you have to check the fetal heart. If you don't, the mother will think that the baby is strong, but the baby is suffering. And at the end of the day, the woman will lose the baby. Any other question?
Sir, please,
I'm giving two people to ask me
this
questions. Then we move on. Pardon?
please, in your fecundation, you said 2 eggs are released and fertilized at different intervals. So I want to find out whether it's possible for a single father to, double father to fertilize these eggs.
That one, we don't even expect that to happen. Double father. But you see, that is why women should be faithful. For us in us, we know at a certain point in time, a woman can have 2 babies being formed with the different sperms. So if you have sex with your husband this morning and you go and have another sex with another man, it's possible. That possibility is there. If you have the sex with your husband after your menstruation, and the next time, even though you are pregnant, you menstruate again, it's possible when somebody has sex with you, you get pregnant. So that is the last question, then we move on.
Hello, sir.
Yes, I'm listening.
Does that mean the question 7, the 70, the meconium, mostly at the clinical settings, when the baby is delivered and the what's the name? The liquor is meconium stained.
When we don't expect liquor to be meconium stained. That is why we have the baby crying. When the baby becomes too anxious, there's problem with the baby. It passes stool in a liquor. You understand? And it becomes thin. So, but when you see lycostain, then there's a problem with the baby.
Okay, sir,
We'll look at that.
because you said the meconium is normally is sterile and it's not infected, but when the liquor is stained, they give the babies antibiotics to prevent infection. That's why I'm asking. If it's sterile, then why is the baby giving antibiotics?
Yeah, you mean that's the meconium is not supposed to be lycostain. So it means something has happened, and it's just a prophylactic. Do you understand? So that the baby will not get infection after delivery in the period. All right. So don't forget that I have books for you. All this thing I'm talking about. If you are interested in the books, see your house, and then let me get my money and I'll post the books to you. You need to have the books so that you can learn. I hope you are clear so that we do something. Now, what I'm showing you is the female reproductive system, reproductive system. You have the penis there, you have the testes there, so many things are there. I'm now going to mention them. Now we need to look at male reproductive system because without a male, a woman can get pregnant. So as nurses, when we get the male reproductive system and we understand, if the woman is not getting pregnant, we know what is happening. So what I'm showing you is the male reproductive system. The male organ externally, you see penis. The male organ of penis is the male organ of copulation, but it has two lateral cavernous bodies, that two what we call corpora cavernosa, and then the center of that cavernosa, we have erectile tissue. Every male penis should have these erectile tissues. Because if you don't erect, hello, please, who is at the hospital? Please lower the. Who is mute your so that the rest will listen to me. The enlarged conic structure. Yes, Amebu, what? Amebu, yes.
Madam, please mute.
Amebu.
I think the host should be helping us muting those that are unmuting themselves.
Okay, the machine I'm using, I'm not very familiar with it. So now that today our first lecture, so I'm getting used to this class. So we have penis. The penis, one very important, please, any organ that are raised, what you should take note of its function. We are not anatomists, but we want to know the structure. So the enlarged conic structure of the distal end of the penis, an extension of corpus spongiosum, is called gland penis. When you get the penis, or when you see the penis, at the end of the penis, there's some big thing which has what? Where the urine passes, where the urine passes. And that is where we have what the gland penis contains the external orifice of the urethra. And in uncircumcised male, it is covered by a fold of thin, retractable skin called peripus. When you look at, what do we call it? Circumcision. I told you the men are born with the skin covering the penis. And that shouldn't be a reason for the woman not producing. Whether you have the peripuss or you don't have the peripuss, the only thing is that the penis should be able to erect. And if you're able to erect your penis, you definitely will do that. Will impregnate the woman. So it is not our business to tell men that go and cut and circumcise before you marry. So whether you have peripuss or foreskin can still impregnate a woman. Then externally, you see that you have scrotum. Scrotum. This is a circular structure suspended between the penis and the anus. And it contains the testes and epididymis. So the main function of scrotum is to protect the testes and epididymis, because that is to protect the temperature-sensitive testes from the heat and cold. Don't forget, testes is the center for sperm production. Testes are very, very important. Very, very important. That's why we have two. When one has problem, one will still produce sperms. So scrotum protected. If the testes do not descend into the scrotum before puberty, the male will be sterile, unable to produce sperms. The male will be unable to produce sperm. So if you don't want to impregnate your woman, you can go for your testes to be removed from the scrotum. The scrotal sac is composed of loose, wrinkled skin and fascia connected to, and is covered with sparse hair. Please, anytime this goes to everybody, but more especially women, when a man, you see a man's scrotum, you should expect some sparse hair on it. Sparse hair. If there are no hair on it, it means that man will be suffering some congenital abnormality. And that can also affect a woman becoming pregnant, or the baby will have that problem in future. Some are darker, and the color of the scrotum should be different from the rest of the body. Contain many sebaceous glands. So that is the description. The description tells you that if the man's scrotum is sakura, there's no hair on it, then there's something wrong with it. Again, if the scrotum color is the same as the body color, then you should be very careful. Now, this is the diagram of internal structures. We have the epididymis, and then we have the testes, we have the ducts. We are going to mention some of them. The structure of the internal structure. What we just had is the external structure, so the internal structure. So testes, you can see testes with your eyes. It's the male ability to reproduce. The male ability to reproduce is governed basically by the testes. The testes are the site of spermatogenesis. That is where sperms are produced. And it's not only the sperms alone. We have testosterone. It's a hormone that also makes somebody to look like a man. That testosterone look like a man. So that is the. Then we have epididymis. We have the epididymis. That system. Epididymis are ducts joined together at recti testes and enter the epididymis. Immature cells, please, I want you to listen carefully. Immature cells or sperm cells produced by epididymis, produced by the testes, is stored, undergo maturation, and acquire motility in epididymis. So epididymis is when testes produce the sperms, is stored in the epididymis. And epididymis, it will be there for some time and get mature. No. So then we come to vas deferens, a thin muscular tube that passes upward out of the scrotum, becoming part of spermatic cord. The vas deferens stores mature sperm until ejaculation. Please note the two. Epididymis stores immature cells from testes. Then, after it has matured it, give it food to eat. Then, vas deferens is the place where these mature cells are stored and wait for the period you are taken into wherever, either the woman's uterus or whatever. So vas deferens is a place where it's stored. Then we have ejaculatory ducts that are outside the prostate gland. Prostate gland is just below the bladder. Prostate gland just below the bladder. The vas deferens unites with the ducts of the seminal vesicles, to form ejaculatory ducts. So then the ejaculatory duct passes through the prostate gland. So during orgasm, when you are having sex with a woman at the stage where things are very, very good for you, that is the stage we call orgasm. And spermatozoa that is ejected into the urethra for exit. Urethra and then for exit. Exit, wherever it goes, that one is different, is not our concern. Then inside the internal organs, we have some vesicles, some tubes, because seminal vesicles, some tubes called seminal vesicles. Seminal vesicles are convoluted satellite structures attached to the vas deferens behind the bladder and anterior to the rectum. Let me repeat, seminal vesicles are tubes attached to the vas deferens where the sperms are, behind the bladder and anterior to rectum. So glandular tissues lining the seminal vesicles, the tissues lining the seminal vesicles, that's the tubes, they secrete slightly alkaline fluid and help to regulate the pH of the seminal fluid. The seminal fluid also contains fructose, an energy source for the sperms, and prostaglandins. Prostaglandins are believed to facilitate sperm and egg passage by causing smooth muscle contraction of the fallopian tube. This, what I've just listed, is the function of seminal fluid. Let me repeat, the pH of the seminal fluid, regulate the pH, secrete the slightly alkaline. Why is it that the sperm should be alkaline? We come to vagina and you realize that the secretion of the vagina is acidic. And it is very, very important that the vagina secretion should be acidic, so that whatever microorganism that will enter there will be destroyed. So we'll look at that later. So the vaginal secretion is acidic, and the secretion that will be given to the woman from the man is basic, so that the area where the sperms are will be neutral. Otherwise, the sperms will be destroyed. And these prostaglandins that are also produced, the seminal fluid contains fructose and prostaglandins. They are very important in helping the sperms and eggs passage by causing smooth muscles movement. So Then we are still there around the penis and bladder. We have the gland, prostate gland. The prostate gland is shaped like a chestnut. It surrounds the base of the urethra and the ejaculatory duct. It secretes alkaline fluid that empties into the urethra, enhancing sperm motility. That alkaline fluid will help to neutralize a slightly acidic secretion of the vagina. So take note, when we come to vagina, you see that the vaginal secretion is highly acidic, pH, very, very high pH. There is no pH, that's the acidic. If these glands does not produce secretion which are basic to neutralize the acid, what will happen is that all the sperm the man will give to the woman will be destroyed by the acid. So we have another one we call Cowper's gland. They are found in the male reproductive system. What we call urethra or Cowper's gland. It's a tiny structure that lies at the base of the prostate on either side of the urethra. And it responds to sexual stimulation. Glands secrete mucinous substance that lubricate the urethra and the end of the penis. This Cowper's gland is produced in response to sexual stimulation. That's why you need to make a laugh play so that you secrete some of these substances, like the mucinous substance, like the semen. The next one is semen. The semen contains Cowper's gland secretion, prostate gland secretion, and seminal vesicle secretions. They all come together to form what? Semen. That's semen. And then they add to the sperms, and then we have spermatozoa are produced in a seminiferous tubus of testes. We'll talk about that. And then reference and mature in epididymis and get stored in vas deferens. When you get stimulation, it moves to the urethra. Immobile while in epididymis, sperms becomes activated, very activated, one mixed with ancestral gland secretions. They are highly motor after ejaculation. Then seminal fluid contains spermatozoa, secretions of seminal vesicle, prostate, and Cowper's gland. Now, when you take secretion from seminal vesicles, secretion from prostate, and Cowper's gland, that is a seminal, that is a semen. But when sperms get added, they become seminal fluid. The semen is lighter than that of the seminal fluid. The fluid itself with the sperm is thicker. It's like milk. The semen is very light and can contain nutrients, contain prostaglandins that support sperm survival and movement through the female reproductive tract. Sperms can survive. I want you to listen. Sperms can survive up to 7 days after ejaculation. When a man puts sperms in the woman reproductive system, the sperms survive in the uterus, in the female reproductive system, 7 days. The reason is very simple. If not because of this physiological state of the sperms in the uterus, most women wouldn't have had the opportunity to deliver. Because the egg of every woman lasts for 24 hours or to 48 hours. The egg is expired. And there's so many women who have husbands who are not staying with them. So your husband will come the weekend when you haven't ovulated, you have sex with you, all right, deposit sperms there. If those sperms also died early, that means you have no business of getting pregnant. Assuming the woman you have sex on Saturday and your husband leaves on Sunday or Monday, and you ovulate on Wednesday, when the sperms have gone off, there's no way, but the sperms will still be there. If you had sex on Saturday or Sunday, it will be there for up to Friday or Saturday. So when you ovulate, your man's sperms are there to catch up your egg. But when you cut the man's tubes, vas deferens, what we call vasectomy, you prevent the semen from passing into the ejaculating duct for expulsion. So vasectomy is more or less you are sterilizing the man. The man becomes sexual mature, sexual maturity. Normally, we have the conception of puberty. Sex of the fetus is determined at the conception. When you get pregnant, the very day you get pregnant, that is the day. In other words, the very day, egg and then the sperm get fertilized. The egg gets fertilized. Sex is determined. If you want boy, and that is the time you should have the boy. If you aren't there, that is the time you should have the girl. You don't wait when the abdomen is big, then you go for prayers to get a male or female. That won't work. The very day fetus sex is determined, the very day conception takes place. Anatomic male or female differences is not evident. You can't know that until the fertilization takes place, until it's from a small baby, like embryo. 7 to 10 weeks after conception, testes or ovaries begin to form and are distinguishable. In other words, if you should go for a scan after 10 weeks, that's 3 months, you should be able to know the sex of your baby. And if they tell you it is male, madam and masters, you can't change that. So I always advise that if you want another sex, what you have to do is to pray near the bed when you are going to have sex. You pray, God, this sex I'm going to do, please give me a male or give you a female. Not when the pregnancy is old. It doesn't work that way. So at birth, sperms, the primitive sex cells, the spermatogonia are found in the male. The female ovaries contains a lifetime supply of primitive egg cells. No evidence exists that any more are ever formed. What they are trying to say is that the number of ovaries, the egg formed in ovaries, the number that the baby is born with, that will be the number for life. But there are quite a lot. God gives you a lot of eggs, a lot. We shall see that when we are doing menstruation. When we say puberty is the transition period between childhood and sexual maturity. And this is affected by hypothalamus secretion of gonadotropin releasing hormone, and initiate puberty in both males and females. GRH stimulates the release of pituitary gonadotropin hormone that in turn generates production of ovarian estrogen for the woman and testicular testosterone for the man. So GRH, what we call gonadotropin releasing hormone, stimulates pituitary gland, the gonadotropic hormone, that in turn you need production of ovarian estrogen and testicular testosterone. So the ovaries will produce estrogen for women, and testosterone will be produced by testes. The estrogen and testosterone stimulate sexual. These two hormones, estrogen will stimulate the maturation of the reproductive organs, responsible for the development of female or male secondary sexual characteristics. So that when you see a man, you know it's a man. When you see a woman, you know it's a woman. For instance, secondary sexual characteristics in obstetrics, when you look at the mons veneris with the hair, which we will talk later, a different shape and different distribution in a man as compared to the woman because of the hormonal differences. Hormonal differences. With the female, puberty usually occurs 9 to 16 years of age. Most of my students listening to me will bear me out that by 16 years, you should go out of what we call puberty behavior. In other words, you should have menstruated. The average age at onset of puberty is 12 to 30 years old. But when we say this, there can be differences. Race is different. Heredity will create different immaturity, nutritional status, climate, environment, will all create the difference in the maturity of the baby girl. We look at some tribes, you realize that you see a very tall girl, but you ask, she will tell you she's below this age, and you'll be wondering whether she's telling you the truth. But it's because of race. And now we have a term we call oogenesis. The female capacity to produce is dependent on successful maturation and exposure of an ovum. I'm repeating this. The female capacity to reproduce is dependent on successful maturation and exposure of an ovum. And the ovum is found in ovaries. In the ovaries, we have two. It suggests as many as 6,800,000 potential ova are present in the ovary, primordial follicles, by the 5th month of gestation. A female, a girl, a fetus, female will have 6,800,000 potential ovaries, the potential eggs. What it means is that every woman in utero, God has endowed the person with 6,800,000 children. That's what it means. When the baby is born, it's supposed to produce 6,800,000. Okay, the majority degenerate. This 6,800,000 majority degenerate. And then you get 2 million remain at birth. So it means every woman or a girl born is capable, produces 2 million human beings on this earth. So that's why sometimes some of us wonder why a woman will decide that giving birth to 1 child or 2 children. I don't think it is fair to God. It gives you 2 million eggs, and we are saying you just produce 1. So that these germ cells develop, undergo mitotic transformation to primary oocytes during intrauterine life. During intrauterine life. So that is the overview of female and male reproductive system. Female and male reproductive system. Yeah. Any question?
Yes, sir. Please, there's a question.
Go ahead, madam.
Yes. So what happens to our mothers who don't have the opportunity to get pregnant at all, not to talk of giving birth?
Nothing happens
Is
to
it that
them.
for them, God didn't give them those eggs?
You know, when you want to have a child, okay, and you are having problem of having a child, you go to gynae. Sometimes they test your ovaries to see whether you ovulate. You may have all these eggs, but you don't ovulate. Or sometimes you ovulate, but the hormones are not there to help you. So it's not because they don't have this egg, they have, but because they can ovulate. So that is so that's why sometimes when they treat you, you are able to give birth. So if I don't know whether I've convinced you, you know, every child in utero has potential of eggs in the ovary to produce potential. So if the person is not producing, that one is natural, then the medical people have to see what is causing that. Any other question?
Hello, sir. Good afternoon, sir.
Yeah, I'm listening.
Sir, please, those who have done the vasectomy, those whose spermatic cord has been tied, do they catch pains?
You know, do what?
Those whose spermatic cord has been tied, is it the vasectomy?
Vasectomy, yes.
Do they catch feelings? Like, do they have feelings?
Oh yes, everything is there. You can have sex. You can even feel like you are ejaculating. You understand? Everything is there, but except that you will not produce. Okay, you will not be able to. Now let me tell you the way we should go without it, because I need assignment from you. So I believe each and every group has a prefect, 3 or 4.
Okay, I'm just slim man.
You have prefect, isn't it?
True, sir.
At any point in time, I'll give you a drawing assignment. And at the point, I'll request that you give it to your prefect. Either you sponsor him to bring it to me, or you EMS it to me.
Almost 18 ceding balama.
You EMS it to me. It is very, very important. Immediately you bring it, I write the names and send it. Tell your prefect, these are the proposed. So as a beginning, I'm giving you an assignment to draw female reproductive system. What I'm looking now.
Why?
Female reproductive system. Okay? You are drawing female reproductive.
Please, your line is breaking.
Yeah, because you are making noise. Is that not it? Female reproductive system. Are you writing?
Yes.
Are you writing?
Yes.
Yes.
Female reproductive system. X. Female reproductive system. Then assignment number 2. Assignment number 2. Micro and macro structure of uterus and vagina. macro, M-A-C-R-O, and micro, M-I-C-R-O. Of female reproductive system. And the fourth diagram will be male reproductive system. There's no micro and macro. Male reproductive system. Well-labeled diagrams. Well-labeled diagrams.
Sir, please, can you take them again, please?
The first assignment is female reproductive system. The second assignment is macro, M-A, and micro, M-I-C-R-O, structures of female vagina, vagina and uterus. The next one is male reproductive system. How many diagrams?
Sir,
Three,
please, it's
sir.
4, but your line is breaking. The second one, the micro and the micro, you didn't hear it well.
M-A-R-O. M-I-R, macro and micro.
Yeah, of what, sir, please?
Vagina and uterus.
Okay, micro vagina and micro uterus. All right.
Good. Then the last one is vulva. Vulva.
A.
Vulva. Vulva. Vulva.
Say, it makes it 5. Oh.
Yes. What's your problem? Vulva. Have you got it?
Yes, sir.
So I'm starting with the female genitalia. Please make sure you do the assignment. It will help you, okay?
Yes, sir.
Make sure you do the assignment. We'll find a way of the assignment getting to me.
Yes, sir.
So the female external genitalia, what we normally see when the woman goes naked, externally, collectively is called vulva. Collectively is called vulva. Then the internal ones we don't normally see. You know, vagina, uterus, fallopian tubes, and ovaries. We don't normally see. When a woman goes naked and you see those things in front of her, it is not vagina. Don't go and shout that today you saw somebody's vagina. Vagina is not seen. Uterus is not seen. Fallopian tubes are not seen. Ovaries too are not seen. So we have the diagram there. When I supply my books to you, you get the diagram, you know, and then see the diagram. But we want to pick the structures one by one. The structures one by one. The first one is mons veneris. Mons veneris. And that is when the woman goes naked, that's where you see the hair. The hair is a part of certain connective tissues there, and it's covered with skin and short hair. Please look at the description, short hair, not long hair. So if the woman goes naked in front of you and the mons veneris is very, very long, you have to be very careful with that woman. And the short hair is of the same color as that of the scalp, the hair of the head, the same color, and may extend from about 0.8 centimeter to the umbilicus. The hair of the mons veneris of the woman should not pass umbilicus. When you are examining the woman and that hair pass umbilicus, some women have even hair on the chest. Some women have hair around the nipples like a man. What it means is that that woman may have some characteristics of a man. So sometimes you hear somebody, why are you behaving like a man? The woman should check herself. It means she has some characteristics like a what? Like a man. Then when you leave mons veneris, you come down, you have what we call labia majora. Normally, when you want to see the entrance of the vagina, you have to displace labia majora, and you have labia minora. Labia majora are two large folds containing sebaceous and sweat glands embedded in fibrous tissue and covered with skin. The labia majora form the lateral boundaries of the vulva and join at the back posteriorly to form posterior common swab. They merge with the perineal body at the mons veneris. So they merge at the perineal body at mons veneris. Then we have labia minora. You displace labia majora, then you get labia minora. Labia minora lies within the labia majora. They are also folds of connective tissue covered with skin. But labia minora don't have hair, no hair on labia minora, sorry. In front of the woman anteriorly, they are divided into two parts. One stretching over the clitoris, one stretching over the clitoris to form peritus. Other passing beneath the clitoris to form frenulum. Let me repeat that. When you displace labia majora, you get labia minora. And there are folds of skin. The first one on the top of the clitoris, stretching over the clitoris. And that one we call it peritus. The other passing beneath the clitoris, and that one we call frenulum. Posteriorly, the labia minora, in other words, posterior where it goes near the anus, labia minora fused together, forming faucets, a structure which may become when the woman is doing the first delivery. So that is labia majora and labia minora. Then we have clitoris. I think we'll end here next week. Please remind me where I've ended with you, the clitoris, okay? And then we continue. It's 2 hours by my watch. So next week, we continue from here, the clitoris, and then on we go. Any question?
Thank you, sir. Sir, please,
Okay.
the book, how much is it?
65 Ghana cedi.
Hey, 5 cedis.
65 Ghana cedi.
Oh, okay, sir.
Let your preference. Pardon?
Sir. Sir.
I'm listening. Pardon?
Please, you made mention that the sperm cell lasts it spends about 7 days, or it lasts for 7 days before it dies.
Yeah, I'm talking of sperms.
Yes. That the sperm cell survive for 7 days, 7 good days. So now here be the case if like after sexual intercourse, someone takes emergency contraceptives. So normally, is it that there's emergency contraceptives, it kills the sperm, or what actually happened? So I want to know how it works.
No, that will be in the family planning. But don't forget that when you take a drug, it penetrates the tissues. We come to male reproductive, I said female reproductive. We talk about isthmus. In fallopian tube, we have two types of isthmus. A certain part of fallopian tube, we have something we call isthmus, and that's where the sperms are stored. When you take emergency contraceptive, it can penetrate there and kill the sperms. Are you with me? And emergency contraceptive, it takes a long journey for the sperm to get even to the fallopian tube. Yeah. So on the way, you just have sex. You take the drug. It will even destroy you before you get to the storage chamber. Okay. So that's how it works. You take the drug while the sperms are making their journey to the storage chamber. It will destroy it. We have the storage chamber in the female. No. So that's that. Any other question? So please, let your prefect call me and then quickly get the books and be able to study, because there are a lot of, it's plenty. You are able to study so that you'll be able to know this, so that you pass exams well. That's what you need. Yes, Jane Francis Nato.
Yes, sir.
What is
I want
that,
to find out.
Yes,
please.
Jane, call your name, Jane Francis.
It's Jane Francis. Jane Francis Nieto.
Oh, wow. Are you a Frenchman, woman?
No, sir.
Okay, go ahead. Yes.
Yes, it's so concerning the sperm staying up to 7 days. Okay. So if the man have a low sperm count,
okay,
can that sperm still stay up to the 7 days?
When we come to fertilization, you realize that the man has to give you about 3 million sperms. Do you understand? So even when we give you low sperm count, go and store there. Don't forget that's not all that you go and store there. Once the sperms are low, it will not be able to help you. Because you see, the sperms is only one sperm. Yeah. It's only one sperm which can fertilize. But you need other sperm to give moral support to the egg, fertilized egg. So the low sperm count will not even help you to deliver. We'll talk about that later, okay?
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
So sir, the last person, and then.
Sir, how much is the book?
65 Ghana cedi.
Okay.
Sir.
Give it to your prefect, and then he'll call me, and then I will send the books to him.
Sir, please, I have a short scenario here. I want you to explain for me.
Okay.
Let's assume that a man and a woman got married for so many years. The woman cannot conceive.
Okay.
So, and they part their ways. When they part, the woman was able to conceive with different.
I'm listening.
Different man. And the man too, the ex-husband will also be able to impregnate another woman or different woman.
Yes.
So does that mean that the woman vagina acidity level is higher, which normally kills the sperm?
Exactly so. You see, sometimes when I did X and Y, I suspended that explanation because I'm not seeing you face to face. That should have been on the board explanation. Sometimes the woman acidity, no matter what, a certain man's sperms, even to neutralize, it will still destroy the man's sperms. You understand? And sometimes even though we say it's a man who they give birth to male children, sometimes your Y chromosome will be destroyed by the woman's acidity. But another man's sperms are stronger. They can withstand the acidity of the woman and be able to produce with the woman. So there are a lot of things there. That's why I'm saying that when you are going to have a sex, honestly, vigorously, you have to pray. When you pray, and then God will help you to get whatever child. So that is that it depends upon the acidity and the strength of the sperms of the two of them, and then later their marriages, the two new marriages. All right, I've been alerted that the time is up. We meet. Please, it's 65 Ghana cedi. Give it to your prefect, and then you call me. They will plan to send the books through EMS and whatever it is to you. Thank you very much for the day.
Please, when are we submitting the assignment?
Relax with that. You do the assignment.
Sir, please, the assignment, is it individual or in a group?
It's an individual matter.
Okay, thank you.
It's not a group. It's not a group. So I'm going to receive about 300 assignment diagrams, and I'll mark them.
So please, soft copy or hard copy?
What do you mean by soft copy or hard copy?
Like paper, or we should type it?
I want the diagram. If you bring me, you print it from internet, you get 0. Draw it and label it.
Sir, please, we will draw, label, and then we'll take the picture and send it through your email.
Please, they are waiting for me. I'm in the college.
Sir, please clear us on this thing so that we'll know what to do.
You start drawing. We'll meet next week so we clear everything.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, sir.